The Common Council meeting for November 1st, 2:30 p.m. The only thing on this agenda is to override the mayor's veto. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Smith.
Present.
Councilperson Zastavny.
Present.
Councilperson Payne.
Here.
Councilperson Gill.
Here.
Council President Sellers.
Here.
Council Vice President Julius.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect Councilperson Glover is absent, and we have 8 council members present.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lewis?
Yes. Yes, today's special meeting was properly noticed pursuant to Indiana law to take up the issue of overriding the mayor's veto of ordinance 2013-OR-40, which is the city's budget ordinance for next calendar year 2014. Specifically, I believe our clerk did email, there was a specific veto technically of the ordinance of the line item under Fund 204, Department 022, account number 332, under the newsletter. Page 10.
So
technically, under the Indiana code, the mayor can either do a veto for a budget ordinance, a veto of the entire ordinance, or technically what we call line item veto. So technically, the mayor did what we call line item veto. But under the law, if it's the desire of the council to override that specific veto, we still have to follow the normal procedure of having a meeting, having a vote taken, and it has to be at least 2/3 of the members of the council must vote to override a mayor's veto. And just to remind everyone, we're doing it today, November 1st, pursuant to the DLGF guidelines. This is the last possible day for us to have a full budget approval of our ordinance.
I think I spoke to Amy, and she has to have it in by 4 o'clock today to the state.
Yes.
Scott,
So, yes.
sorry, could you go ahead, could you explain the line item veto and the process of that and what the ramifications of that are?
Well, if we obviously override the veto, then the ordinance that this council passed at our last meeting would be obviously the budget that would be certified by us, sent up to the DLGF. If we fail to override this specific line item veto, everything else in the ordinance that we pass would stand except for this particular line item that is referenced in the mayor's written line item veto. That newsletter, Fund 204, Department 022, account 332, that would, if we fail to override the veto, that would revert back to the 2013 budget certification as certified by the DLGF, which I believe that budget was certified in the amount of $42,000. So if we fail to override that by law, then it reverts back to that last year's certified, well, technically 2013 certified budget.
Right. And that was for the 42,000 was for the newsletter.
Yes, that was my understanding, is how the line item was entitled in the
Right.
budget was newsletter.
Okay. And we have set up a meeting to talk about Pro Media on Monday at 5 o'clock.
Yes, we've advertised a public workshop for that.
And I know that Mr. Williamson's going to be there, or Williams
I'm not sure.
he is going to be there Monday evening to with us to discuss this. So I need a motion.
Make a motion to override the mayor's veto.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to override the mayor's veto. Any other questions or comments?
Yes. I think if we leave the veto, or leave the line item veto as it stands, leaving that $42,000 in there, that'll be less money that we'll have to reappropriate later, or do a special appropriation for later, when we talk about contract with ProMedia or whoever happens to do communications for the city. It's titled for newsletter, but we all know that we're against the newsletter. We don't want to continue with the newsletter. So we can take that money in that 200 series of parks and just use it for ProMedia's contract and not have to appropriate more funds later.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with us appropriating it later. We can do that the beginning of the year. I think there's some issues when I've talked to several different council members. There might be some other things that they want to, they're not comfortable with. So, not that they're not comfortable with the whole thing. Like, I'm very big on the website, as Mr. Merkley knows, that we spoke about in our last meeting, and you were in our meeting, and that's something I specifically spoke about. I think we need to put more money towards our website. It needs to be updated desperately. But
And I know I personally like to see a contract first before we appropriate any money, so, because we ran into that issue before, we didn't have enough money appropriated, it ended up costing, that we ran into all kinds of issues. I'd really like to know the contract amount.
And I know that Mr. Merkley told me that 42,000 would not be enough, we would still have to appropriate 6,000 more if we did everything minus the $500 that we spoken
You're going to have
about.
to appropriate it
It
anyway.
So-
it might be a good, bargaining tool to say, hey, we've appropriated this much. We're not going to do $50,000, a $50,000 contract.
Right, I'm confused on why this meeting was so dire, if the budget was still going to be sent off to the Department of Government Local Finance.
The reason,
We didn't
Well,
know
we-
what was
we
going
didn't
to
know
be
what was-
vetoed.
yeah.
we didn't know what was going to be vetoed. It was the whole budget, just line item.
And we had to
certain ones we don't know.
advertise
We
and
had to-
schedule a
Right.
meeting, so.
Yeah, because it was under the law that technically the mayor could either veto by specifically signing the veto or not doing anything after 10 days of the passage of an ordinance. So we weren't sure what was going to happen, and because November 1st was the deadline to the state, we had to have some advertised meeting because he had...
Right.
we did not
Otherwise,
know
the
until
entire
yesterday.
budget reverts
Yeah.
back.
Right.
So anyway,
But since he's gone this route,
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the budget is fine. The rest of the budget is going to be submitted. It's this line that we're talking about.
Well, I see it as it looks like we're going to have to make changes anyway, so why not do it all wholesale at one time when we know what what's in the contract, what's included, and what the total real amount is?
I think we might be able to move some other money and find the difference other ways.
well, the money's here, we've got the money, it's just the fact whether it's in the general fund or it's been appropriated. So, anyway. There aren't any other further questions?
question.
Call the question. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Like a roll call vote?
Councilperson Smith,
Yes.
Councilperson Zastabny,
Yes.
Councilperson Payne,
No.
Councilperson Gill,
Yes,
Councilperson President Sellers.
Yes.
Council Vice President Julius.
Yes.
Councilperson Owen.
No.
Councilperson Samuel.
Yes.
6 yeses.
Yes, 6-2, so the override is successful.
Okay.
2/3 vote of the of the total membership would be at least 6 votes, so. And we have the, we have the
She's got to
certificate.
sign that
sorry.
first.
Yeah, and did you, I printed off, you got that too?
Oh,
yes, sir.
Okay,
I,
just we want to make sure, because
I'm
that,
gonna be
this will have to
on
be
that.
sent to the state today. So
Yeah.
we'll attach that,
Yes.
what you wanted, yeah, make sure you attach the ordinance we passed, including the mayor's veto,
Yes, sir.
same in this, yeah, all three she'll have to send it
Do
to the
I
state
only
today.
sign the one
Yes,
page?
sir. Yes, ma'am. You sign that and I attest to it. I'm giving it to
Yes.
Erica to go ahead and scan it in.
It's got to be up there by 4
And
PM,
then we
so.
will give a copy to Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Thank you.
We had a motion on the floor. Second?
Second.